yeast to the juice in the bottle. And anywhere you are in the world where they're doing champagne method, you then put a crown cap on, and you just bring it down to the caves to age. Now, the process of wine is fermentation of grape juice. Because if I was just going to make grape juice, I might as well be Welch's. Why bother? But God's gift to us is alcohol. The process of fermentation, the process of taking juice, which contains sugars, and adding yeast so that the yeast attacks the sugars and creates two products, CO2 gas and alcohol. It's God's gift, because now we have alcohol, and now it's worth it. And if I take it to the next step and I produce brandy, if I take this fermented juice and I distill the fermented juice, I get brandy, which is just the fermentation of fruit, or the distillation of fruit. So with this, I can get alcohol at about 11% to 12% alcohol. With brandy, I get to 40%, 80 proof. So, you know, all this wine stuff is nice, but the problem with wine, it's a very inefficient alcohol delivery system. Whereas brandy is a very efficient alcohol delivery system. It gets me where I'm going real quick. So, what we've done is we've taken juice, add sugar and yeast. The yeast attacks sugar. We produce CO2 gas. That's the carbonation inside the bottle. That's the natural carbonation of the wine because the gas can't escape. And alcohol. So we fermented wine in the bottle. These wines are fermenting. When they're finished with fermenting, because we have spent yeast and sugar, if you can see this in the light, it would be very cloudy because of the yeast and sugar in the bottle. And the bottles are stored slightly neck down to keep as much of the yeast and the sugar to the neck of the bottle. And then we bring the bottles into a room where we have a riddling rack. It's just a wooden rack with holes in it on an angle. And we put the bottles in the riddling rack. And we turn every bottle a quarter turn every day for about 2 weeks. And with that quarter turn, we're working all the spent yeast and sugar down to the neck of the bottle, so we have just this yeast and sugar. We then take the bottle, put it into a freezing bath, something very cold solution, and we freeze that little plug of yeast and sugar at the neck of the bottle. Point it away from yourself because there's gas in there. Flip off the cap, and the compressed air, the gas, the CO2 gas, just blows that plug out of the bottle. So it cleans up the wine in the bottle, then we dry it in a champagne cork and wire it down. And that's the production of champagne, and the French method, champagne method, and that's the reason why it's so expensive. The bottles, because they're taking the pressure of gas, it's a very heavy bottle with a big, deep point to give strength to the bottle. This bottle, in its present form, is a pretty dangerous item when you're going through the processing, because if you drop that bottle, it just explodes in shards of glass on it. So, Larry Mawby, who's specialized in sparkling wine, just the winery over the hill, was doing his riddling work, and he dropped the bottle and sliced his femoral artery and almost bled to death before somebody got to it. So you have to be careful with this, but it's the champagne method of making sparkling wine. So this is a 324-11 cuvee. So this was when the bottles came down here in 2011. They'll come out in about another 6 to 9 months. They'll come out and be ready to be washed and labeled. And we go through the riddling and then we'll dry it in the champagne cork. The idea was I was going to do dinners down here in this cave, but it's too cold. So I don't do it. A lot of times you put a banquet table all the way down to the center of the cave and do catered dinners. It's a little too cold for that. Yeah. Okay? So that's aging. We had